Welcome to the I Can Do Anything podcast. My name is Colin. Today I'm talking about NBA free agency because as soon as I recorded yesterday, stuff was, reports were coming through and players were making moves and transactions were being made, and this is great. I mean, this is great for the NBA. We're not in the heart of the off season, but we're in the off season. Football season's coming up, and my guess, I don't have a great pulse on what goes on social media and what goes on television, but my guess is this is what people are talking about: NBA free agency. Who's going to go where? How will these guys play together? Who's the new favorite? I mean, this is so great as a sports fan. I can't understand how you can't like, potential new matchups and guys teaming up to go play places together to challenge other superstar duos. I mean, there's not necessarily this offseason because Durant is going to be hurt, but the following season, there's going to be 3 to 4 like really great duos depending on what happens with Russell Westbrook. And, I might as well, I guess, just start there with Russell Westbrook. So Paul George got traded, which leaves I can never fucking say that guy's name. Russell Westbrook, which leaves Russell Westbrook in OKC pretty much stranded with Steven Adams. Steven Adams is great, don't get me wrong. Steven Adams is honestly one of my favorite big men in the league. He's not skilled like Embiid and like DeMarcus Cousins and Jokic and Anthony Davis. Sometimes I forget that Anthony Davis is a big man. He doesn't have that same skill set though, that same like freakish skill set. But Steven Adams is a great role. He's just a great center. I think Steven Adams would make a really, really great second big man off the bench. I mean, he's deserving of a starting role. But imagine if he was a big man coming off the bench and playing 20 minutes instead of 32 minutes. I don't know what he averages in a season, but imagine if Steven Adams was a second big man behind Embiid off the bench or behind Anthony Davis off the bench. That would be. I don't think that the Lakers have the cap space for it, and I don't think they need it because they're huge with the recent acquisition the recent signing of DeMarcus Cousins. They're a big ass team, and I'm going to get to DeMarcus Cousins and the Lakers, but they are a really big ass team right now, so they don't necessarily need Steven Adams. But Russell Westbrook and Steven Adams, I mean, more so Russell Westbrook. He's alone in OKC, and this is what the culture of the NBA is. Like this is. And it's what it always has been. There's always been great duos. I was talking last episode about big threes and how big threes are a little less frequent, but like there have always been great duos on NBA teams. Always. I mean, Stockton Malone, Kareem and Magic. You name it. Shaq and Kobe, Shaq and Penny. Steph and Durant. I mean, this has been something that's always been in the NBA. Those Houston teams when in the 90s with Hakeem, the Dream Shake, Olajuwon, and Clyde Drexler with some of those, I guess, like there wasn't a lot of really those Houston teams in the 90s had like a superstar in Hakeem, and then like a lot of really, really like top tier, like second tier, but at the top of the second tier level guys. But this is how the NBA has always been. There's always been really, really great tandems, and now the guys are just moving on their own rather than having. Well, I don't know. It's a funny thing. Like we don't think of. There was all kinds of free agency tradings and acquisitions in the 90s and in the early 2000s. You had Shaq leave the Magic, and you had Shaq eventually leave the Lakers, and you had towards the end of that, at the end of the Shaq Kobe tandem, there's always been moves like this. You had Kevin Garnett eventually leave the Timberwolves? I mean, it's always been players moving. There's this perception that it wasn't the players that were moving, and it was that the GMs were bringing people in. But that's still how it goes on, except the players are at the forefront. The players are dictating the moves. I mean, the player has now all of the leverage. Russell Westbrook's in OKC by himself, and he simply goes to from the front office and management and says, listen, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are going to play together for the Nets. Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum are going to be a great tandem in Portland and have always been a great tandem in Portland pretty much for the last 3 years. I mean, the Jazz are going to have a really, really great tandem in Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley. You know, I mean, I'm trying to think of Anthony Davis and LeBron. You got now Kawhi and Paul George, and I'm going to talk about that tandem. That's an interesting one for me. But, I mean, you got all these tandems throughout the NBA now. You're going to have Porzingis and Luka Doncic in Dallas. That's one that not a lot of people are talking about. That's going to be a really interesting, like, Euro persuasion thing over there or down there in Dallas, I guess. I mean, all of these guys, look at the Sixers, got like 4 guys. I mean, more notably, their big duo, I think, is probably, I don't know, they almost have a big man duo in Al Horford and Embiid. But, you know, they've got 4, I don't know about 4 superstars. Al Horford is a top tier player. He got top tier money. I don't think maybe Al Horford wouldn't be categorized as a superstar, but he is a important piece. He is going to be I don't think Al Horford has won any championships. Actually, I'm positive that he hasn't, but to me, that's a championship caliber guy. Like, you put him on the right team, and that's a championship caliber guy. I don't know that I think the 76ers are probably the favorite. They're definitely the favorite in the East. I mean, it's them and the Bucks in the East. The Raptors, you know, losing Kawhi they're gonna suffer pretty significantly next season. They're still gonna be good. Pascal Siakam is going to take a big step up next season, and he's gonna have to if they're gonna be good. But if you're Russell Westbrook, you got all these tandems throughout the NBA, and you can just go to the front office and say, listen, it's just me. There's all these tandems out there. What are you going to do? Either bring somebody in, which isn't going to happen in OKC, you know, or I got to go. So there's been a lot of trade rumors, and there's a number of different teams that he could end up with. He could go pair up with Jimmy Butler down in Miami. There's a Bleacher Report article that I got this morning. What's today? Today the 7th? Yeah, today's the 7th. This article was from this morning. Russell Westbrook trade rumors. Rockets pinpointed for James Harden reunion. And as soon as I read that this morning, I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, that would make sense. That would make a lot of sense. Why not? I mean, what a fit for Russell Westbrook that would be. I mean, and I don't mean that positively. I just think that Daryl Morey, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook, they could all just be that could be the that could be the NBA's greatest delusional, irrational, that's the NBA's greatest delusional and irrational big 3: Daryl Morey, James Harden, Russell Westbrook. So this article talks about rival executives have also pinpointed that the Houston Rockets. Rival executives have pinpointed the Houston Rockets as a likely suitor for Russell Westbrook, which would come as no surprise considering the way general manager Daryl Morey has prioritized the pursuit of stars during his entire career, not to mention the possible reunion between Westbrook and old Thunder teammate James Harden. I mean, when you put Daryl Morey has prioritized the pursuit of stars, when you put Daryl Morey in front of it, it just seems funny. I don't know why, because like every team and every general manager is after stars, but this is his version of going after stars. You go after ball-centric guys that put up a ton of shots, and then you have Chris Paul, who's also extremely ball-centric and can definitely score at a really high rate, but is getting older, has a ridiculous contract for his age and for his production right now. You got Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden on the same team. The notion of Westbrook sharing the floor with two other ball-dominant guards is unorthodox, to say the least, but Morey has long held the belief that landing as many elite players as possible is the path to a championship. It's, again, that's obvious. Landing as many elite players. I mean, you've got to have role players, and you've got to have like veterans that are really role specific. That's really important. You saw a great example of this is I think it was the 2000 Olympic team that was really damn good. I mean, don't get me wrong, they obviously had a lot of stars, but they had guys like Tyson Chandler, who's, you could have had, I think Dwight Howard was on those teams, but you would, if it was just stars back then, you would have had all five guys are the number one scorer on their team, their respective NBA teams. You would just fill a 12 or 15 man roster with, all really great number one guys throughout the league on their respective NBA teams, and that team would probably still dominate. But they had guys like Tyson Chandler, who's not a scorer, but a great defender, a great pick and roll guy, like a great team guy. They had Jason Kidd towards the end of his prime because in 2004 they were just stacked with talent, and it just didn't work out. They finished, I think they got bronze or silver, and it was like a huge disappointment, and that's how they corrected it. They filled the team with, Tyson Chandler is a great NBA player. He's a great NBA role guy. And now, I don't know if Tyson Chandler's in the league this year. He played last year for the Lakers, obviously, for a little while, but he's not on the current Lakers roster. That was, he was on a 1-year contract. I don't know if he'll get picked up this year by the Lakers eventually, or if he's retired. I really don't know anything about Chandler, but that's just a really good example of this. And, Daryl Morey, you're not going to get as many, landing as many elite NBA players. It sounds nice, but you're not going to, and I don't think you necessarily want to. Oh, wow, I scrolled down a little bit on this article. Report, Tyson Chandler, a likely target for Rockets. Huh. Okay, that stuff is weird. Part of me just thinks that that's just how my life kind of goes. Stuff just kind of falls into place like that, but there's a small part of me that thinks that maybe that thing just popped up because it heard me say Tyson Chandler. So those reports follow a report from Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN on Saturday, who wrote that Westbrook has been engaged with Thunder general manager Sam Presti about the next step of Westbrook's career, including the possibility of a trade before the start of next season. Exactly what I'm talking about. He goes up to general managers and said, listen, this isn't going to cut it. I'm a superstar. Now, Woj continues to go on. The Thunder could rework the roster to try to remain competitively around Westbrook and Steven Adams, although that scenario is unlikely, operating well over the salary cap with a projected salary tax payment of $43 million with the existing roster. The Thunder were in cost-cutting mode before George's trade and will only accelerate that front now. So if the Rockets are indeed interested in Westbrook, they won't be alone in their pursuit. Amick and Dawson, who these reports came from, Sam Amick and Brett Dawson of The Athletic. Those two say that the Detroit Pistons and the Miami Heat are very real possibilities for Westbrook, pairing him with either Blake Griffin in Detroit or Jimmy Butler in Miami. And those would make a little more sense. I think that either of those pairings with Jimmy Butler and Blake Griffin and Russell Westbrook don't really make a lot of sense. I mean, the Pistons would be good, and they'd certainly be an explosive, fun team to watch, and the Heat would be good. But that's not I don't know. It's not. It's just I don't see championships. I think that of the Kyrie Irving Durant duo, the LeBron Anthony Davis duo, and the Kawhi and Paul George duo, Russell Westbrook and Blake Griffin or Jimmy Butler is like a fourth or a fifth best duo in the league still, and these guys are all after championships, and yeah, I don't know. Those personalities would just all go so horribly right together. Like Jimmy Butler and Russell Westbrook are very similar, and Blake Griffin is extremely ball centric and didn't work with Chris Paul. I don't see him working with Russell Westbrook. Rod Beard tweeted that to be clear. What? Rod Beard, to be clear, I don't know. Tom Gores has said, somebody, holy shit, I can't even operate in this Twitter world anymore. So Rod Beard said, with these Pistons and Russell Westbrook rumors, I would guess they have checked in, almost every team would, but given the high price tag and his salary and the abundance of picks needed, I would call it unlikely right now. So Tom Gore is reporting on the luxury tax for both of adopting Russell Westbrook's salary is crazy. The New York Knicks will be mentioned, given their lack of star power, having young and movable assets, and the fact that they were spurned by Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving this offseason in favor of the Brooklyn Nets. Landing Westbrook would certainly put them back in the headlines, if nothing else. Yeah, for the Knicks, again, I'm not a Russell Westbrook. I just don't think Westbrook cuts it. And this would be, again, a perfect fit for the New York Knicks. You don't get all the other guys that you're after, so you'll settle for a Russell Westbrook and take on that huge contract, and then you still can't sign any. I mean, there's no big free agents next season. Paul George is on the books for next free agency. LeBron's on the books. Durant's on the books. Kawhi is now on the books. I mean, those are the top four guys in the NBA. Steph is on the books. Klay Thompson's on the books. I mean, you're not going to get a franchise-altering pick, I guess, next season, and I'm not sure when Russell Westbrook's contract is up. But I mean, it would like they reported in this story, it would certainly, put them back in the headlines if nothing else. But it seems like a really Knicks thing to do. Just take on a big contract for a guy that this guy's not bringing you championships alone, or probably, he had Durant and couldn't win championships. Now, they could have beat the Warriors when they were up 3-1, but Russell Westbrook doesn't equal championships. The Minnesota Timberwolves would also be an intriguing possibility after an offseason where they were blatantly targeting restricted free agent D'Angelo Russell, only to see the Golden State Warriors shockingly swoop in and land him via a sign-and trade. Westbrook would provide the perimeter playmaker and offensive threat the team lacks, and would give Karl Anthony Towns a superstar whose skill set would complement his own. I don't know. That seems to me, like I said, Jimmy Butler and Russell Westbrook's personalities are very similar, and that seems like just it seems like he would hate Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns just as much as Jimmy Butler. I don't see. This is where Russell Westbrook's attitude and his style of play bites him in the ass. Like, he's just not really a good fit for a lot of guys, for a lot of teams. I don't know. I don't know who he pairs well with. The Orlando Magic could also join the fray if they desire to jumpstart their rebuild, pairing him with Nikola Vucevic for an inside-outside duo for a Magic team that still appears to be a few pieces away from being an actual contender. However, landing Westbrook might be jumping the gun a bit. I don't know. I mean, again, not a championship team, but I always talk shit about the Magic, but they actually have some pretty good pieces. They could actually be like kind of sneaky in the East this past season. Now, if they got Westbrook, that would make it really interesting, but he's not beating the 76ers. He's not beating the Celtics more than likely. I don't know. I guess he could beat the Celtics. That would be an interesting matchup, him and Kemba Walker in a first round series. If let's say the Magic sneak up to the 5 seed in the East, and the Celtics are the 4 seed, or even if it's a second round matchup, I don't see if him going to the Magic and getting out of the first round. But again, it doesn't equal championships. So he's really out of options, sort of. There was something in this article that talked about his contract. Russ will earn $47.1 million the year he turns 34. I'm not sure when that is, but that's a lot of money. $47.1 million for any guy, let alone Russell Westbrook at the age of 34. That's ridiculous. I don't see very many teams that are willing or that want to take on that salary other than the Rockets. I mean, and for the Rockets, honestly, as much as crazy as it, the more I think about it, like, I myself consider their window closed, but it's really not. Like, if Harden and Chris Paul, if those rumors weren't accurate, I mean, they really haven't lost anything or gained anything this season. And shit, dude, adding Westbrook could be really, really good for them. And it could equal, I just don't see it equaling a finals appearance. I still don't think that they beat, like, let's say Klay Thompson comes back really healthy and just the same. I don't see them beating the Warriors, especially if the Warriors thing with Russell Westbrook works, or not Russell Westbrook, D'Angelo Russell, especially if that little threesome of guards works, or even if they were to deal him at the trade deadline. What would be funny is they could deal him at the trade deadline and still pick up Iguodala if his contract. I mean, I think Iguodala will go pretty quickly. I think he probably is on a different NBA team than Memphis and is contributing before this, and it'll happen in the off season. But let's say it doesn't, the Warriors could fuck around and just pick him right back up and buy him on a really small contract. Although there was a report today that said that they were going to retire his jersey, but that wouldn't mean that they wouldn't just let him wear it again if he came back. So I don't know. Maybe it would work out with the Rockets. They'd certainly be really fucking good. I'm just not sure that it equals championships. They could still lose to the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. So I don't know. So all the above teams would make more sense for Westbrook than Houston. It's just hard to envision how the Rockets would operate with 3 ball-dominant guards in Westbrook, Harden, and Paul, especially with reports this offseason that Harden and Paul had their issues this past season. I mean, yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's good wording, too. It is hard to imagine 3 ball-dominant guards playing well together, but it wouldn't mean that they wouldn't go far. It just might not equal a championship. In the playoffs, when that slows down and when they've got to play in the half court, Harden's a great 3-point shooter. Chris Paul's a really good 3-point shooter, or a good 3-point shooter. And Westbrook's just really not a good 3-point shooter. So maybe he has the ball in his hand. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how you run that offense. There's just not enough ball to go around. Those guys all are so ball dominant. Like Harden, Westbrook, and Chris Paul could possibly be some of the 3 most ball dominant players that the NBA has ever seen. Like John Stockton was pretty ball dominant. Their offense ran completely through him, but he's one of the greatest. If not, he's probably the greatest passer ever. And he, leads the NBA all time in assists, I believe. If not, he's 1 or 2. But I'm trying to think of all other really ball dominant guards in NBA history. LeBron's very ball dominant, but I don't think he's as ball dominant as Westbrook or Harden or Chris Paul, for that matter. Those guys are all, Chris Paul and Westbrook are point guards in the NBA, and Harden, ever since joining the Rockets has essentially become a point guard in the NBA. But That's like probably the three most ball dominant guards in NBA history. Allen Iverson was very ball dominant. He's certainly probably in the top 5, but those guys are probably, the three of them are probably in the top 5. So would adding the fiery Westbrook, a ball dominant player who wouldn't be terribly effective as a spot up shooter while Harden worked in isolation, or as Chris Paul worked in isolation. So Morey and the Rockets may get in the bidding nonetheless, hoping the star power of that trio on the court would offset the potential chemistry issues, but taking on Westbrook's mammoth contract with all the obvious potential pitfalls that come with this unnatural fit in Houston would be one hell of a gamble for a Rockets team that will be a legitimate title contender if they simply keep their current roster intact. And that's kind of what I mentioned. Like, they really haven't made moves this offseason. And if Harden and Paul are fine and Clay doesn't come back as great as he always has been, and comes back really late and just as a shell of himself, or even if he's, not fully himself, shit, maybe they could go to the NBA. I don't know. So yeah, it is a really big risk for the Rockets to take on Russell Westbrook. And I think actually since that story came out this morning, there was another story on Westbrook. Report Russell, this was at 4:30 today. Russell Westbrook, Thunder in discussions about Stars' future with franchise. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. With Paul George. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Russell Westbrook and his agent Thad Foucher are engaged with OKC GM Sam Presti on next steps for the All-Star guard, including his possibility of a trade this summer. Is this any different than what I just looked at? It's just an update and it just has all the same information. Westbrook has 4 years and $170 million left on his contract. Wow. Yeah, I don't see anybody taking that contract on. Why the fuck would you? I guess if you're the Magic, it makes you a lot more relevant. If you're the Heat, Jimmy Butler's not going to do it himself. You might as well add Westbrook. That's a lot of intrigue. So I guess now the more I think about it, like, Houston's definitely the worst option. But from a star power standpoint, it would be pretty incredible to have those three together. But it'll be interesting to see what happens to Russell Westbrook. This episode of the I Can Do Anything podcast is brought to you by Landscaped. Are there any homeowners out there? If you own a home, in most cases, you know that you're going to have some yard work. Landscaped is here to help. Landscaped takes pride in having the most extensive catalog of outdoor tools, appliances, furniture, lighting, materials, decor, power supplies, pool and spa, gardening, recreation, water and irrigation, and accessories, and much more. Visit our website visit our stores across the United States to receive help from our trained landscape architects. Take classes and listen to seminars on a wide variety of topics and focus areas, including Gardening 101, Homeowners Construction Best Practices, Insect and Pest Control and Behavior, Creative Materials Concepts, Pool and Spa Maintenance, Fencing and Perimeter Design, Owning Your Space, and many, many more. I want to take the Gardening 101 class. I've recently, over the last couple of years, gotten really very interested in gardening, and that would be a fun class. There's so much. I don't know. Like, gardening is a never-ending thing. Like, it could just always be better for the most part, unless it's done by like a professional crew. But like, just like family gardening, like, that shit can always be better. It's like a never-ending battle. It's kind of fascinating to me. So visit our stores online at landscape.com/anything to receive $10 off your first order of $50 or more and $50 off your first order of $300 or more. That's landscape.com/anything, a special savings for listeners of the I Can Do Anything podcast. So the Lakers signed Boogie Cousins. They also signed a number of other guys. Quinn Cook and Rajon Rondo also signed. So now I think JaVale McGee is definitely coming off the bench. I talked last episode about Ramona Shelburne. Is that her name? reporting that JaVale McGee would likely start. But now with the signing of Boogie Cousins, I think JaVale McGee definitely comes off the bench now, and I think that that's a better fit for him anyways. So their roster, after signing Boogie Cousins to a 1-year $2.3 million deal and Rondo to a 1-year $2.6 million deal, their roster has Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Alex Caruso, Quinn Cook. I think Quinn Cook is a great backup. Stealing him from the Warriors is really great too. I think he'll be a really good backup point guard. Trey Daniels would be a good backup to come in and shoot. Or Troy Daniels, not Trey Daniels. Anthony Davis, Jared Dudley, a great backup veteran. Danny Green, Talon Horton Tucker, a guard, unsigned draft pick. I don't know who that is, but some young talent, I guess. LeBron doesn't historically, hasn't wanted rookies on his team or young guys on his team. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. He probably won't really play very much ever. And then LeBron, Kyle Kuzma, JaVale McGee, Zach Novell Jr., a guard. There's a little on this CBS Sports article that I'm looking at the current roster, the updated roster. It says in parentheses 2-way player. So that's important. They've got to be great defensively in order to win, just like any team really. But so the projected starting lineup is a little bit different than how I think I would do it. I think LeBron should just play point guard. I don't see why not. So the projected starting lineup is Rondo at the 1, Danny Green at the 2, LeBron James at the 3, Anthony Davis at the 4, and DeMarcus Cousins at the 5. That's essentially how I would have it, except, wow, so that leaves Kuzma out of the starting lineup. I think I would go LeBron at the 1, Danny Green at the 2, Kuzma at the 3, and then Anthony Davis at the 4, and DeMarcus Cousins at the 5. So I would essentially just take out Rondo and put LeBron at the point guard and move Kuzma to the 3. I think that it completely goes against what the NBA is trending towards. And the NBA is trending for, since the Warriors dynasty started, has been trending to small ball and to perimeter shooting, and they're going to need perimeter shooting, but I think they should just go against conventional wisdom and go against the trend and just go big. I mean, even going big with those 3, LeBron, Anthony Davis, and DeMarcus Cousins, and then having Kuzma, who's going to be a good wing and a great wing in this league. Maybe not great, but he's a solid wing. He's still really young and has the potential to develop and be really great for this Lakers team. That's a really tall lineup. Danny Green would be the smallest at the 2, a great shooter. I really like it because LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Cousins can all handle the ball. They can all shoot from the perimeter. I mean, it's amazing. DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis are like pretty good fucking 3-point shooters. It's really amazing. And they're all, like, with the exception of Danny Green, everyone would be over 6'7". I think Kyle Kuzma's 6'7". Danny Green's probably 6'4", 6'5". He may even be 6'6". So their smallest player would be 6'6". They'd have 2 legit 7-footers. LeBron, who's a 6'8", solid brick wall, and Danny Green, a 6'5", 6'6", really great shooter, a great perimeter defender, and Kyle Kuzma, a young 6'7", 6'8" wing that can shoot and is a crafty scorer and a pretty good defender. He made solid improvements from his rookie year to his sophomore year last year. He was pretty bad, and admittedly so defensively, his rookie year, and he made really, really good improvements as a defender. So I really like them going bigger. I think it would be really interesting if the Lakers started, again, LeBron at the 1, Danny Green at the 2, Kuzma at the 3, and then Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins, who are both centers, at the 4 and the 5. And Anthony Davis makes a lot more sense at the 4. Positionless basketball. I mean, again, this is so much fun. How can you not like this? Just talking about the different matchups and the different, lineups that you could go with. You could have a second unit without any of the first unit guys. If you go with my starting lineup, You could have Rondo at the 1, Quinn Cook, who's a great shooter and could play the 1 or even could play the 2 in that second unit. You could go small. You could go completely small without any of the starters. You could have Rondo, Quinn Cook, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope at the 3, and then you could go JaVale McGee at the 5 and Jared Dudley at the 4. And that really very rarely happens where those 3, and it'll happen a little more because Anthony Davis and LeBron and DeMarcus Cousins too, for that matter, with his injury history over the last couple of years, those guys are going to take nights off. So it'll happen where those guys are on the floor without those 3, LeBron, Anthony Davis, and DeMarcus Cousins, and that's a really good small unit. But even with one of those guys on the floor, you could have Rondo at the 1, Caldwell-Pope at the 2, LeBron at the 3, Jared Dudley at the 4, and like JaVale at the 5, or Cousins at the 5, and just have 2 of them out there. I just really, I was excited last season, and I still hold true to that. If LeBron didn't get injured, and we can play the if game all we want, but the reality of the situation is LeBron got hurt last year. But if he hadn't, I think that's still I think it's a playoff team. I think they make a run in the playoffs if LeBron didn't get hurt. And I liked their roster at the beginning of last season, and I like this roster again. And you can make all the LeBron stan jokes you want, but having LeBron, the DeMarcus Cousins thing, like playing this big, adding DeMarcus Cousins, who's a risk from the off court stuff. I don't know. He doesn't cause problems necessarily off the court. It's more his attitude on the court. But he seemed to work well with the Warriors for the most part. He was injured for a majority of the season, so we really didn't get to see how it would have fully worked out. He and then Durant was injured for the end of the season for the finals. So we didn't get to see how that worked out, but it'll be interesting to see how all of this goes in LA. Are the attitudes going to clash? Are they going to be able to play without some of these? And they're going to have to do it a lot less. LeBron was there, it was basically him and a bunch of young guys last season, and they had good pieces. But I think this season the pieces got better. They obviously got a superstar in Anthony Davis to go along with LeBron. So I'm really excited about this season for the Lakers. That moves me towards the Kawhi Leonard and Paul George tandem. I want to talk about that, but first, I'd like to tell you about Sportage. Listeners of the I Can Do Anything podcast obviously love sports, and the best way to keep up with the latest in all your favorite sports, leagues, teams, and players is Sportage. Sportage lets you customize alerts for all your favorites. It features articles that are from award-winning sports journalists and has an easy-to-use interactive layout. Download the Sportage app today, and also buy Sneaker Retort. We all buy shoes, some of us more than others, but regardless of how much the shoes you purchase cost or how often you purchase them, it's nice to know ahead of time if you're getting what you paid for. Sneaker Retort is the leading discussion board in the world for reviewing sneakers and is used by sneakerheads from Bangladesh to Machu Picchu. Learn about your favorite brands and connect with retail sellers. After your purchase, give a rating and review of the seller and the product so that those interested in that seller or a particular shoe or the brand can make an educated decision before they spend their hard-earned money. Whether you're a collector, a manual labor worker, a runner, or a fashionista, Sneaker Retort is your home for witty, sharp, angry, delighted, and incisive remarks, accusations, and satisfactory banter. Our members are passionate about footwear. If you have a passion for what protects your souls, sign up for a free membership to receive early release notifications and our daily newsletter featuring the latest in trends and discounts around the world of kicks. Okay, so Kawhi Leonard and Paul George is going to be a really interesting duo. Initially, my first thought was they're kind of the same guy. Like they're both essentially threes. They're both wings. They're two really great defenders on the perimeter. Paul George, I think, was first or second or maybe third. He was in the top 3 in steals. Certainly, I think he was in the Defensive Player of the Year award category finalists. But if he wasn't, he could have been. Like, he's one of the best defenders in the league. Kawhi Leonard is one of the best defenders in the league. So defensively, they're going to be really great. Offensively, it'll be interesting. I just watched a video a little earlier today. Kevin McHale was talking about how he thinks it's a perfect match. I don't necessarily think it's a perfect match. I think it'll be in today's NBA, those guys can both handle the ball, so they're not going to have issues with, like, who's running the point. And they'll have Patrick Beverley. They'll have what's his name Lou Williams coming off the bench. They're going to be the Clippers are going to be really damn good. But it doesn't necessarily, I mean, I don't think they'll have much of an issue, but they're the same position. And I don't think it matters necessarily as much in today's NBA. It's very, very positionless, as you've heard even throughout this episode of the I Can Do Anything podcast. I'm talking about putting LeBron at the 1, and that's not really that far-fetched. He's certainly played the point guard in certain situations or little stretches where somebody was out with an injury or whatever it may be. But in today's positionless NBA, I don't think that Kawhi and Paul George necessarily have too much of an issue. I think the Clippers are going to be really damn good. The West is going to be so much fucking fun to watch. What else do I have to talk about today? There were fireworks last night. At my house. There's a lake right behind it, and I'm sitting in my house just doing whatever. I don't even remember what I was doing. I think I was designing my tiny home on my computer application that I started a while ago, and was doing some detail stuff to it, and then started hearing a bunch of fireworks, and it kind of, I thought, wow, that sounds a little more professional than just people lighting off fireworks. And I went out and looked towards the lake, and there was fireworks above the tree line. And so I ran out to the little lake access that's between two houses. That it's really not like a public lake access, but it's a lake access for between two houses, essentially, with a little sidewalk that goes down to because there's a little like peninsula. There's like a little tiny island. It's really not an island. It's kind of a peninsula. I mean, technically it's an island because it's got water surrounding it completely, but there's just like a little bridge over like a small little section of water. So it's kind of a peninsula, but that little path leads to the peninsula. So I ran out there, and I got out there like 5 minutes after it started, and it was like a 25, 35 minute fireworks display, and it was like a professional, cool display. And I criticized the fuck out of fireworks yesterday, and I still think they're really stupid. Like, I was watching them last night, like, how dumb is this? Like, the big ones are impressive and pretty cool, but like, I was basically out there because it was like, it was kind of communal. Like, there was a lot of people, the houses, both the houses that I walked between, like, had a bunch of people out there, and they were very welcoming. I just, like, I live across the street. It was a cool opportunity to like meet some of the people that have houses on the lakes. I've lived here for months, and I really haven't met. I've met like two of the neighbors, and by met, like, I met one of them. I've told the story about the guy that came and plowed my driveway, and my next door neighbor. We haven't even introduced ourselves to each other. We just have said hi basically in passing. So that was a cool opportunity to meet them, but it was very communal. Like, there was a shitload of boats out on the lake, and you couldn't really see the boats. You could just see all the lights. And I don't know how anybody, once those fireworks were over, got home. Like, there were so many fucking boats on the lake. So it was a cool little communal thing. But fireworks are still like really stupid. I think that professional grade like shows like that are a lot less stupid than personal fireworks. But I found a article yesterday. I just basically Googled how much do Americans spend on fireworks, and a Fortune.com story from June 29, 2018. Firework facts. Americans incinerate $1 billion in 4th of July fireworks every year. The 4th of July is a day of festivities, a time to spend with loved ones, barbecue in the backyard, blah, blah, blah. An ironic environment twist. A whopping 99% of consumer fireworks are imported from China. Undeterred by their origin, Americans spend more than $1 billion on fireworks each year. So you got a bunch of people around these lakes. There's a guy across the street and like a guy like 3 or 4 doors down with Trump flags. All these guys want to tax. I don't know if any of these guys light off fireworks, but they want Trump's China thing to go through, and they want to tax the shit out of China. And meanwhile, they've probably buy. It's funny. You probably send a shitload of money over to China by buying their fireworks. It's kind of ironic. So undeterred by their origin, Americans spend more than $1 billion on fireworks each year, according to the American Pyrotechnic Association. There's so many random associations in the world, or in America, I guess in the world probably. By weight, that makes for roughly 268 million pounds of fireworks, or roughly a pound of pyrotechnics for every American man, woman, and child. Because many types of fireworks are outlawed in many urban areas as well as across the entire states. Many people set off their own glittering displays that cause people... Whoa, that scrolled fast. Many people set off their own glittering displays that causes people, namely men, to burn themselves at highly incredible rates. According to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the independent government agency notes that in a 1 month period between June and July 2017, men experienced almost 70% of fireworks-related injuries. And there's a link to that story. That'll be interesting if they have any details on how often those injuries occur. I'm gonna for some reason it's not letting me open that in a new page or whatever, but that's what we're going to next, folks. Today, only a slim 10% of fireworks displays are set off professionally, and last year, only a slim 10% of fireworks. So 10% of them are the actual professional fireworks shows. And there's a lot of professional fireworks shows. Like, there's a shit ton of them. My lake, my parents' cottage, Portage Lake, does one. Onekama does one. Manistee, just south of Onekama, does one. Crooked Lake does one. There was one over at, I think it was, you could see fireworks in the distance, probably over at Jimerson Lake or Lake James or Clear Lake in Fremont. Like, there's a shit ton of professional fireworks displays, and they make up 10% of fireworks displays. Last year, there were an estimated 12,900 firework-related emergency visits across the country, with hands, heads, and faces as the most injured body parts from products including Roman candles, bottle rockets, sparklers, and other associated firecrackers. Also, according to data from the CPSC, some states have tried to get out ahead of injuries and occasionally casualties that come from exuberant 4th of July celebrations. Massachusetts bans all fireworks, period. Ohio, Illinois, and Vermont only allow sparklers, which should still be used with extreme caution, as those little sparkling sticks sometimes get several times hotter than heated cooking oil. Wow. And many urban areas ban fireworks except on approved days like the 4th of July. Meanwhile, outside the U.S., other countries made the move towards safer fireworks alternatives like drone swarms. I don't know what that is. Oh, yeah, the little like groupings of drones that you can like program to move, in the same fashion that fireworks do. So you still get that that quick fix that I was talking about. That little hit of that heroin. Ooh, you get to see the shiny lights moving around. But unless Americans can be convinced that gadgets flying in formation are as patriotic as setting themselves on fire, we're probably going to continue getting some bizarre 4th of July records for burns, blisters, and, hopefully barbecues too. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Unless you can be convinced that those gadgets flying in formation are as patriotic as setting yourself on fire. While the overall injury rates are down, fireworks still cause an average of 7 deaths a year, with 4 firework-related fatalities in 2016. The APA notes that 20,000 people are injured every year by barbecue grills, and more than 120,000 people are injured by baseballs annually. So 120,000 injured by baseballs, 20,000 injured by barbecue grills, and what was the number for fireworks? What was the number for fireworks? An estimated 12,900 firework-related emergency room visits across the country annually. Is that right? Yeah, that was so. This article was published in 2018, and it said last year there were that many. So in 2017, there were 12,900 firework-related injuries, 20,000 injured from barbecue grills, and more than 120. Oh, okay. Wow. So firework-related injuries are actually lower than barbecue grills and baseballs. Baseballs, 120,000 people injured. But that's a different kind of injured. Like if you get hit in the right spot, it's definitely going to do like pretty severe damage. Like if you take a baseball, like a foul ball to the head, you're going to feel it, and you're going to have like, like that's a potential concussion, or, like that's a pretty serious injury. But like if you get hit in the arm with a baseball, you're going to get a huge bruise. It could potentially break a bone in your leg, or like in your, like a toe, or like one of the small bones in your foot. But you're probably just getting a bruise, and like, you're not going to miss a finger, or like burn your face, or like poke an eyeball out, or like blow off your ear, or like sever some toes, because whatever happens. So, I mean, a barbecue grill, 20,000 people are injured by a barbecue grill. That would potentially be pretty serious. I guess it depends on what constitutes as an injury. So I'm going to go to the 70% of firework-related injuries article. The little hyperlink that is in here hyperlinks me to the cpsc.gov annual 2017 annual fireworks report. Oh, wow. You think I should read this actual report? Holy shit, it's long. Nope. That is a legit fucking report. Consumer Product Safety Commission, United States of America, 2017 fireworks annual report. How many pages is this thing, I wonder? Wow. This is a really legitimate report. There's fucking charts and graphs and plot graphs and statistic, like fucking references, and goddamn, this is okay. That's enough of that. So fireworks are stupid. Stop lighting yourself on fire. I'm probably making a bigger deal out of it than it needs to be, or than anyone cares about. But stop doing fireworks. Fucking donate to an educational system, or give some money to a homeless person. Next year on the 4th of July, please don't buy fireworks. Please don't buy fireworks. Donate to a public school in Chicago. Just seems like a lot better. It seems so much better. I'm going to tell you about another sponsor. We got the people from Ludus aboard today, and then I'm going to talk about the FIFA World Cup final with the women's, and then I'm going to wrap this thing up. But Ludus makes ticket selling easy, so you can focus on what truly matters, your production. The I Can Do Anything podcast is powered by Ludus, built from the ground up for a high school theater director. Ludus's simple and free online ticket sales for K through 12 schools. With a customized ticketing portfolio, Ludus offers great customization features. Choose your own unique domain, pick custom colors to match your organization, and even build a meaningful splash page. One of the best features Ludus has to offer is the ability to generate detailed reports, view revenue data broken down by day, manipulate your data to answer questions about your sales, and export your data for future use. Ludus also offers powerful reserved seating. Keep track of student sales by simply adding student ledgers. With Ludus, customer service is also a breeze. Oftentimes, it's nice to talk to a real person who understands what your job consists of. Ludus offers real-time support through their chat widget, step-by-step guides, videos, and an 888 phone number. Ludus has sold over blank amount of tickets this year. The CEO, Kev Dog Schneider, my good buddy, usually sent ticket sales like very frequently, their annual ticket sales, and hasn't in a while. So I have no idea how many they've sold annually, but the last one was like 450,000 or something like that, and that was a while ago. Visit Ludus.com and start selling tickets today with Ludus's forever 100% free guarantee to your program. That's Ludus, Ludus.com. So FIFA did the Women's World Cup. USA won 2-0, and FIFA did the replay thing. It was interesting. I throughout the NBA season, I was very frustrated with the video replay, and soccer is a different sport. It's played at a different speed. It's over a much bigger geographical area. The field is much bigger than the court. And initially USA's first goal was on a penalty kick, and they went to the replay to determine that it was a penalty, which led to the penalty kick. And they initially cut to the ref, the field ref, the main field ref. I don't know what the technical term for that is. But they cut to her, and she had her finger on her ear like she was listening to her earpiece. And that's what I was saying that the NBA needed to do. You just need to put a earpiece in the head ref's ear and say good or not good, or that was a 2 or whatever it is. It just needs to be quicker. And I thought, oh wow, FIFA's gonna get it right. They're just gonna tell her, hey, in this case it was a high kick, and the high kick resulted in kicking the player. I think it was Alex Morgan. Was it Alex Morgan? I don't know. They kicked the USA player kind of like in the arm or the shoulder. And I'm like, wow, FIFA's going to get it right. They're just going to tell her, and they're going to move things along. But instead, they said, hey, maybe you should review it, instead of, hey, this is what it was. I don't know why there can't be 2 fucking refs. Why can't there be a ref that's in the replay center that can make that call? Why does it have to be the call made by the one referee? I get that there's a head ref, but why can't there also be a ref in charge of overturning? It's the overturn ref. Review every single play and just buzz in, hey, next dead ball, we're going to make the announcement that his foot was on the line and it's a 2, not a 3. Or, the ref blows the whistle and calls a foul, and it's not a foul, clearly on the replay, and you just take the ball out. You say, oh, that wasn't a foul, my bad. The other team takes the ball out. Usually you can see who grabs the rebound before they're reacting to the whistle, so you just give them the ball on the side out. And it could have been the same for the soccer thing. You could have said, hey, her foot was high, and she wouldn't have had to run over to get off the field, which takes longer than it does for the NBA refs because the field's much bigger. She had to run to get off the field, watch the replay, and she made the decision quickly. But it was an opportunity for FIFA and for the replay thing needs to be reformed. It's not hard. Just add another head ref and that hangs out in the replay center and just makes all those calls right into the earpiece of the head ref that's on the field. So that's the last gripe that I've got today for the I Can Do Anything podcast. I enjoy having you here, although you're not here. I'm just in a room by myself talking. I enjoy that you're listening to me. I'll be back when free agency stuff continues to happen. I think we'll probably see Westbrook make a landing spot probably sometime this week. And as soon as it does, I'll be here yapping about it. Thanks for listening. Peace.